You know, I'm a bit surprised. A lot of you wanted to see me go over the breakdowns of each character, but if I'm being honest, none of them are good. Like, you call this breaking it down? He's got zero rhythm. Not to mention that almost none of the characters actually dance. Like, am I supposed to count this? Sorry, but until I see someone truly break it down, I'll be grinding a TCG pocket. See ya! What? Oh, that kind of breakdown. Yeah, they're pretty good. All jokes aside, one of the most satisfying parts of any Ace Attorney game is seeing the accused on the verge of collapsing under pressure, and as they're about to be convicted, they just let loose and begin to crash out in the most over-the-top, bonkers ways. These crash outs aren't even limited to the accused either, so in celebration of this, I'm gonna be looking at every one of these breakdowns in the OG Phoenix Wright trilogy. The sets of ground rules and criteria I'll be using to rank these breakdowns is as follows. First off is the visual appeal. How good does the animation look? Second is how it fits the character, whether it feels like something they would do, or how it completely contrasts their previous demeanor. Lastly, while I'll somewhat take the build up to the breakdown into account, I'm not ranking these based off the story of their particular case or character. I'm mainly just looking at the breakdown itself. Oh, and for reference for what I'm counting as a breakdown, I'm just going off of this handy dandy YouTube video which catalogs them all. But with all the preamble out of the way, let's kick things off. To be honest, it doesn't really feel fair counting this one as it only plays for 5 seconds before switching to Dahlia's much better breakdown, but it's there at the timestamp, so I have to include it. On one hand, I like how this shows that reality is starting to set in for Phoenix, and that Dahlia might not be all wholesome 100 as her OnlyFans account's advertised. But on the other hand, it's not like he's acting any different than he was before, still shouting about how Dahlia could never do such a thing. I could just be biased though, as I never really liked how Trials and Tribulations portrayed past Phoenix as a whiny crybaby simp who lives to defend the honor for the fairest maiden in the land, while wearing pink! But besides that, I just see this one as more of a damaged state that gets cut off immediately than a full breakdown. I mean, there's not much to say about this one. She gets some facts and logic thrown in her face, and in turn gets spooked and drops her box lunches, which is something my main man Bucky would never do. The only reason I put it above free time skip Phoenix is because there's some nice contrast in this when compared to her calm and calculated attitude, but still, pretty basic. He's a killer. Okay, so this one is just funny. Why is there so much oil coming off of this thing? Where does it even keep it all? And then it just spontaneously combusts. I never knew a radio was even possible of doing that. Or is that a radar? Walkie-talkie? iPod Nano? I don't know. Either way, it's just a sheer absurdity of a communication device having a breakdown that puts it above the others, even with no person present.
We need to ask ourselves, what would Ultralord do?
You know, nothing truly makes me feel as happy as when dashing a young boy's hopes and dreams and making them cry in front of the entire courthouse. It's the little things in life. Throughout the case, Cody has been shown to be a big ol' steel samurai stan, and quite an annoying one to boot. So seeing him realize that his idol actually lost a fight, and him ugly crying about it feels so satisfying. There's even a tiny little frame before the big moment where he's trying to hold all the tears back. It's such a blink and you miss it moment, but it still adds to the animation as a whole. Also, this is completely unrelated, but I just noticed that he has a sword on his back, so can someone arrest this man for bringing a weapon in court?
Eeny, meeny, miny.
This one is a lot more somber than the others, as she pretty much realized at this point that there's no use trying to fight against the facts and logic presented to her face, and now just has to accept the consequences. It also feels completely different compared to her two other personalities, which were just her upbeat ditzy persona and her mean girl attitude. And using the Bure that she's been abusing this entire case as a rag to wipe her tears is a nice touch. I think from here and beyond, all the entries in this are either good or gold.
We've got to have money.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a big fan of old Red over here. A, because he talks funny, B, because he's rich, and C, his name has both colors red and white in it, yet his primary colors are pink and purple. That aside though, I really do like the breakdown animation. Looks like he's being possessed by a demonic spirit, which is actually kind of fitting for this case, ain't it?
Peter, what are you doing? Crack?
V. Vasquez is usually so cool and collected, always feeling like she's above all this murder nonsense. Once you finally get her to the breaking point, she snaps. This might seem very low-key, but it's a slight side of her persona fading that makes it work. It isn't as dramatic as Red's or Cody's, but for a character like this, the smaller actions can hit a lot harder than they usually would. My god, someone shot the sheriff! Marshall's breakdown is very brief, but still so funny. Given his cowboy attire personality, it's only fitting that he goes out like a man who lost a duel at sunset. I also just like the build-up with saying, "I only got one word for you, partner." Although if I were to change anything, it would be to replace the no with a... After Acro confesses to murdering the big top owner, Regina learns a valuable life lesson, which is that people die when they are killed. This is one of the few breakdowns that takes place outside of the courtroom, which oddly makes it feel a bit more personal. Like, damn, there's no bad guy to blame it on or arrest anymore. We just gotta deal with the aftermath. Regina, now realizing that part of this whole murder fiasco is her fault in an indirect way, starts to ball her eyes and worry about Acro getting revenge. It is very sweet how Phoenix tries to cheer her up, and her crying animation gives even Cody a run for his money. Overall, a very wholesome entry. Oh, how the mighty fall. A man as righteous as Luke Atby, regarded as a hero campaigning for peace and prosperity, eventually succumbed to the demon known as pride and became the very villain he sought to destroy. Truly a tragic tale, but at least his crash out was entertaining. I love how it starts out fast but then slows down the longer it goes on. Make it seem like he's doing the old and just look at his eyes. My man was 100% on some sort of substance before he come to the stand.
What the Sigma?
Oh, Winston. You gotta feel bad for the guy. Here he is, just trying to do his job like any other normal guy, and is constantly taking back shots in every game he appears in. I mean, come on, did he really deserve getting his hair erased from the fabric of space and time? Like, give my man a break. You know what? I'm not gonna stand for this anymore. Sure, he might be a coward and a little full of himself, but at least he doesn't get accused of fabricating evidence or assault on defense like every other prosecutor in this trilogy does. My man's has been on the bottom of the totem pole for too long, and I say enough is enough. Hashtag Winston Payne did nothing wrong. Together we'll truly bring justice for all.
I'll be your mommy.
Okay, now I can think of at least two things I like about this breakdown. The first is that I think we all knew that her cutesy attitude was some sort of facade, but I didn't think that her awakening transformation would be so terrifyingly evil looking. I expected her just to be a good old-fashioned mean girl kind of thing, like Mini Mani, but this was on a whole other level. The second thing is the animation itself. I mean, it looks like she's charging up to go Super Saiyan, although I guess it would be Super Saiyan Rosé in this case. And just look at how the heart on her shirt spins around and turns upside down. One would almost assume that this means she's no longer of pure heart anymore. Anything else? Oh yeah, she has massive boobs.
Same with a magnificent pair of bananas.
Oh, great heavens!
Starting to worry about the health for a lot of these guys. Throughout the trial, we see Beef Wellington grab onto his scarf whenever he gets nervous, and it all comes full circle in the end when he pulls on his scarf so hard it chokes him out. Like, goddamn. You know how much willpower that must have taken to do? His head even wobbles in retaliation at first before turning gray and falling over, although I can't say that's not satisfying to watch. Little bitch thinks he can whack me in the head and walk out of this building scot-free. If you ask me, he got off easy.
Bring it on!
After a long and arduous trial, with no other way out, Akko confesses to his crimes and admits that he is indeed the murderer. All the while, tears flow from his eyes and a smile on his face as if a huge weight has been lifted off his chest, opting to tug at your heartstrings rather than shock you with a wacky animation. I just really like how at peace he is with his decision and how he apologizes for what he's done, as well as how somber of a moment it is. I think this deserves a standing ovation. Eh?
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
I'll just let myself out now. I just find this one so hilarious. Throughout the entire case, Willie has just been this crazy old drunk homeless guy whose parent was more useful than him. But when he shows up to court and the fated time comes, Yanny locks in and gives the court the most straight answer possible. It's literally just a meme from Parasite. Like, how could you not love it? This just goes to show that you truly never know if the crackhead outside is secretly Lex Luthor. No, not Terry. He had so much to live for. So this is an interesting one, seeing as this takes place in the past with a younger Edgeworth, who before meeting Phoenix in court maintained a perfect win record. So we knew that the defense was going to lose somehow, but I never expected it to end with Terry drinking poison and dying. What's crazy is that you can even see earlier on in the trial that he coughs from time to time, the way planting seeds for this reveal. What's even sadder is his complete devotion to Dahlia, who we just know is the evil mastermind behind all of this. If Homie joined the cult of Iris like a sane person, all this could have been avoided, and the wide shot of him hunched over the bench is too much. It's just too much.
What? No.
Well, if it isn't the one who started it all, you gotta pay respects to the OG. This man set the standard for everyone else to follow. For starters, this guy just has a certain aura about him. From the way he talks and presents himself, you can just tell that he's a weasel at heart. But then when his life starts flashing before his eyes and he realizes that the jig is up, he rips off his hair and throws it at the defense before foaming from the mouth and passing out. Like, oh my goodness, what a way to go out. Imagine you're just a lawyer taking on his first defense case, and the witness just foams from the mouth and passes out. What kind of precedent does that set for you? Also, is that hair real or just a wig? Personally, I like to believe that he ripped off his real hair with all that adrenaline pumping through his veins. Probably a wig. In terms of purely crashing out, this might be one of the best ones. My main man Furio is not one of the sharpest pencils in the crayon box. He did kind of get into a reverse card in the last act and accidentally outed himself as the murderer, but to be fair, the court somehow confused Furio for Phoenix. Like, come on, how do you even do that? You tell me all I need to do is get a haircut and I can be making a lawyer sign without passing a bar exam? Freaking sweet. But back to the main topic, Furio is screaming at the top of his lungs while turning black and white as the incident flashes behind him while the screen shakes before the lights come off is just so powerful. This man's screams can be heard even through the vacuum of space. Like, god damn, Furio, no need to bust out the Super Saiyan 3. Truly a crash out for the ages.
Whatever.
Technically, this character has two separate breakdowns if you think about it, but for now we should look at the first one. And what a breakdown it is. Now by this point in the series, we've seen this before. A super nice and pretty girl turns out to be a little loco, but none of them were as extreme as Dahlia. Nice girl acts as just a saintly figure who likes to spend her free time frolicking through the flower fields and donating to the homeless. And she has everyone fooled, especially Phoenix, who is completely smitten by her. But then there's the other side of her, which we only get a brief glimpse of, but you can sense the pure malice radiating through her expressions. Her hatred alone lit the surrounding butterflies on fire. But perhaps the scariest part of all is that she happily accepts her punishment. It's not like Minnie, Miney, or Acro where they realize what they did was wrong. Dahlia just simply concedes. It also makes you wonder if we only saw a small glimpse of her true self just now.
Manuel Pablo Gutierrez O'Brien Q Rivera! What is going on here?
Oh, Diego. How someone so cool only shows up for one case in the entire series still baffles me. As the mentor of a novice Mia Fey, Diego was shown to be calm and confident throughout the entire case, similar to how Mia acted in Phoenix's first case. However, unlike that trial, this one ends in defeat, and not by regular means. As Mia is beginning to doubt herself, Diego tries to console her, but it's clear that even he is upset at this. Not only does he shatter his coffee mug with his pure grip strength as his hand is left bloody, but he still keeps that same confident smile the entire time. I don't know about you, but that's pretty badass if you ask me. Real shame he never shows up again after this. Animation-wise, this might be the simplest one here. All it is just one drawing of Phoenix's head on the desk, but it's what it symbolizes that makes it so powerful. Up to this point in the series, Phoenix has never lost a case before. He's always found some sort of evidence or a new way of thinking to turn his trial on its head, but now, when it matters most, he fails. Just seeing him so defeated and angry at himself is so unsettling. This is not the Phoenix we're used to seeing. This alone is devastating, but to make matters a wee bit worse, Maya is being held hostage at the moment, and unless Phoenix won that acquittal, her life was forfeit. This case would go to have a whole bunch of crazy twists and turns later on, but this small moment is for sure one of my favorite scenes of the series.
And he gets to be a lawyer? What a sick joke!
What, you didn't think the final boss of the first game, not counting Gant, was gonna have a good crash out? This breakdown has two parts to it. The first is him seemingly getting a heart attack while getting flashbacks to Nam, in which his eyes are now completely white. But after cooling down for a little bit, he proceeds to start slamming his head on the wall repeatedly. I like how he does it slowly at first, you know, like once every 4 seconds or so, but then just goes into maximum overdrive in the second half. The amount of brain damage this man has by now must be staggering. No wonder he doesn't show up again after this.
Can I get a cup of coffee? Black? Can't you see we talking? White?
Throughout the entirety of Trials and Tribulations, we've seen this caffeine addict try and fight against us at every turn. So when it came time to send his ass packing, they pulled out all the stops. After receiving the finger of death from Phoenix and a dead Mia Fey, Godot finally starts to open up a little bit, and after getting his mask exploded, blood starts gushing from his eyes, and he states that the only time a lawyer can cry is when it's all over, bringing it all full circle. Which in retrospect is kind of strange for him to say that, seeing as he's a prosecutor now, but that's besides the point. I just love how nonchalant he is, even when there's blood gushing from his face. Like, he's still just doing his regular poses after this. For a character as cool as Godot, it's nice to see him go out in a cool way. At the end of the day, just a chill guy.
You like that? Huh? You like that?
Aw, great, we got another crybaby on our hands. This one just completely caught me off guard the first time seeing it. The strong, fierce, independent, and perfect Francesca von Karma, who has been shown to value her pride as a prosecutor above all else, for just a small moment decides to let it all out. I really like how it's Edgeworth that she shows a side to herself to, instead of Phoenix, as it shows that she has a great deal of respect for Miles and known her the longest. Also, just look at her, she's so sad! It's okay, I'm sure you'll beat him the next game. In the meantime, someone get her a Snickers, she's not feeling herself today. At long last, the man, the myth, the legend. This crash out is just the epitome of awesome. First of all, just look at that damaged sprite. Like, what the hell is going on here? It's like a bomb attached to a purple strobe light went off inside of his body. Already, his god key is off the charts. But then for the finale, instead of exploding into little pieces, he just gives his usual smile and claps. Then clap some more, then some more. Okay, Jesus Christ, that's enough clapping. But then it slows down and he just goes back to talking normally. It already helps that Gant is a man who commands so much presence whenever he's on screen. So for his breakdown to be so bombastic and over the top, all while keeping his eccentric and jovial attitude, it's just so good. Will you be tonight? That's the question. Now this is another character that has two separate breakdowns, but they're both so good I'm just gonna combine them for simplicity's sake. But yeah, the way Matt reveals his true personality is legendary. Up to this point, Phoenix has wholeheartedly believed in every one of his clients' innocence. So the one time it turns out that they actually did do the crime, hits pretty hard. The reveal of the scar behind his bangs is already evil enough. But did he really need to whip out the wine glass as well? Even in prison, these people are aura farming, I swear. But that doesn't even compare to his final breakdown, where he brutally starts tearing up his face. Like, oh my god, why is this so graphic? Up to this point, there really hasn't been much blood or body horror, not counting murder weapons and whatnot. But then this guy decides to go all Joker mode and try to rip his face off. Also implying that's originally how he got his scar. That being said though, that's what also makes this so memorable. The more blood in my lawyer game, the better. I think we all knew Iris's / Dahlia's had to be this high. After all that scheming, Dahlia's plans went up in smoke, and after getting absolutely roasted by Phoenix and Mia, her time is over. But how do you go about punishing a ghost? Well, the answer is quite simple, actually. Just make it so angry it gets expelled from its host's body and watches their very essence turns on fire and burns away, all the while screaming in pain. Usually I would feel bad for someone to go through that, but not in this case. The expression from Iris looking like she's trying to keep everything together before Dahlia pops out is so haunting, and Dahlia's specter form being devoid of all emotion besides anger really helps sell the scene. The Magatama catching fire and extinguishing all but one spot before eventually fading away. Mwah. A fitting way for one of the series' most notorious villains to go out, having a crash out so good it extends beyond the mortal plane. And that about wraps it up. Let me know what your guys' rankings would be down below. Well, until next time, see.
Objection!
Oh god damn it, not again.
You have a lot of nerve coming back here, you know that?
Me? You're the one who keeps showing up here uninvited. You can't get with the same trick you pulled last time. I covered everyone.
Oh, I'm not here for that. I'm here for you.
What?
All this talk about crash outs makes me wonder what yours would look like.
Well, I mean, I consider myself a pretty chill guy, so I can't imagine getting too worked up about anything. Wait a minute. Is that Ace Attorney 7, Pikmin 5, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explores the Sky DX, and Punch-Out Switch?
Yep, they're the genuine article. It's a shame you won't be able to play them, though.
What do you mean? No!